Next speech, which is the last speech of the night, it's a number 10 speech. It will be given by Eilish Mc Gee. And the title is The Walk of Life.
The Walk of Life. The Great Western Greenway was fully opened to the public in 2011 by An Taoiseach Mr. Kenny. It is the longest off-road cycling and walking trail in Ireland and follows the route of the old Westport to Achill railway line, which closed in 1937. At the end of the 1800s, towns like Westport, Newport, Mulrenny and Achill prospered greatly with the arrival of the railway. Today they are prospering once again from the remnants of that old line, which runs, called the Greenway, which is called the Greenway. 3/4 of a century later, the old line, which is parallel to the N59 and which follows the Crows at other points, meanders and snakes its way around Clew Bay. It divides farmlands but connects people, places and communities. It's a modern lifeline, delivering tourists, both Irish and international, and brings much needed euro to small struggling businesses along the way, in the aftermath of what was once called the Celtic Tiger, who has now definitely moved on to another place. The mode of transport today is very different from the steam engines of old that belched out smoke and fumes. Now the way is green, using planet-friendly options of propelling people from A to B, namely walking, running or cycling. Before the Greenway, the old railway line was a lying on or dry area for stock, cattle, sheep, donkeys or horses. But nowadays, enhanced human-animal relations are very obvious and evident as these same animals gaze and graze at the numerous passers-by on hybrid or mountain bikes due to gravel surface, walkers and joggers and runners of all ages, from all walks of life, individuals and families alike, including grannies and babies, as they take a break from urban life, the office, household chores or whatever, just to get away from it all. Mark Twain's quote, "I'm pushing 60, that's enough exercise for me," doesn't hold any longer. Parents and grandparents share the experience with their kids in all sorts of modified bikes and contraptions, towing children, tandems, you name it, it's all there up and down the line. In fact, there are times when it resembles a scene from the Tour de France. All in all, the old line has morphed into a truly eco-friendly pathway. Funding for the project was truly visionary and one of the best investments ever made in the locality of Clew Bay. Line maintenance will be key. It provides an amazing opportunity to showcase the incredible natural assets that the area has to offer, despite the economic situation. And it's a great example of how to utilise our natural resources in a clean, sustainable and healthy manner. And it demonstrates very clearly the synergy between our two greatest indigenous industries, namely farming and tourism, both working in harmony and bringing badly needed euro to a country starved of funding. Farmers who voluntarily gave up their land and right of access showed great generosity of spirit and goodwill and are to be highly commended. And the benefits of the project to the local economy are enormous. Provision of more facilities and amenities along the way are needed, and the existing ones need to be enhanced and managed in a proper, nurtured, not exploited, clean, not tacky. And we must never ever revert back to the rip-off habits of the last decade and burn the hand that feeds us, because repeat business is king. The Greenway is the equivalent to delivering the Lewis line to an urban area in Dublin, to a suburban area in Dublin. And the local towns along the way now are copying on to this fact. And it's bringing a new lease of life to Newport. And there are all sorts of promotions, like the Green Artists Initiative now at the moment, where they're hoping that some artist will depict, I'm not sure, is it a sculpture or whatever, and it will be placed someplace along the way. Then you have the gourmet experience and wayside gardening, and the latest thing I see advertised now is a Greenway 10K in May. I have walked the line myself for years. In fact, I was one of those people who would drive to Westport to walk from the town here out to the quay, 4 or 5 kilometres and back in again. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I never realised at the time, say 10 or 12 years ago, that I would have it down my own way now. And prior to that, we had a connection with the line as well, because the train ran by our house back in the 30s, and just up the road from us there is a level crossing called the White Gates, and hence our address, White Gates, Kilmena. Now I have the Greenway at my door, and I can choose and decide on what distance I'm going to run, depending on my mood or the amount of time I have available to me. And as I get fitter, my walks get longer. Anywhere is walking distance if you have time. Is walking good exercise? Hippocrates said walking is man's best medicine. Can you get fit from walking? Certainly, as long as you walk long enough, hard enough, and often enough. Also, it's free. There are no membership fees, no bookings required. And it's a chic lifestyle nowadays, and a very inexpensive way of socialising. You'll hear people talking now. I met Mary today, and guess what? She was just telling me about bargains in Tesco, and she was in a charity shop last week and got a fabulous coat. You would never hear that kind of conversation when the time was here. The only exercise some people get is running people down, jumping to conclusions, and sidestepping responsibility and accountability. And also, with this new surge in exercise and being healthy and all the rest, it just happens to be coinciding with the national obesity epidemic that we're now experiencing in the country. And hopefully, with modified diets and so on, perhaps we'll turn the thing round before it gets like America. So walk for pleasure and survival, and always commit to being fit. There's no excuse for venturing out nowadays due to the technology employed in the provision of all-weather, lightweight clothing and shoes. And once the body and feet are comfortable, then there's nothing to keep you inside. Indeed, the Greenway at times can resemble a sportswear catwalk, with all the designer gear, expensive but effective against the Irish weather. Walking the Greenway has given me new perspective, a chance to appreciate the wonders and beauties in our landscape, and the numerous species of flora and fauna, and the terrain through which the Greenway travels: fields, hills, rivers, drains, ditches, swamps, bridges, arches, tunnels, gardens, sheds and houses, and the beautiful mountains, of course, at either end, the Reek and Nelfin. And also I get to talk to an ag farmer or a gardener perhaps along the way. A few days ago I met a farmer who definitely has his own slurry tank, and there he was. I looked and he had a man working for him, and I said, "Have you given up the work this year?" He said, "No." He said, "But guess what? I went up to the yard and a bloody robin had built a nest at the back of my tanker. I couldn't lift the thing or anything like that." And he said there was a clutch out, so he said, "It's cost me a couple £100 to put out my slurry this year." However, I feel that, I should let him be. I met another man, and he was just putting a beautiful plaque in his garden, and it said, "It takes a long time to grow an old friend." I thought it was beautiful. Now, despite the road being close to the Greenway, there's a great wilderness feel to the place, and sometimes I only feel the sound of my own shoes on the gravel. I can think, listen, look out for, observe, and note different changes. At the moment, I'm looking out for the swallow and listening for the cuckoo, but so far they've let me down, and they're about 4 days late this year, whatever the reason is. So one feels very much away from the madding crowd. And sometimes if someone ever asks you to say a prayer for them, or if there's somebody sick or anything, it's a lovely place to pray, and you feel your prayers are going right up. The best way to appreciate the countryside is to walk. So slow down and get off the fast lane, because you not only miss out on live scenery and beauty, but you lose out on the sense of where you're going and why. Tonight, let's be off now. Tonight, I would rather be walking my walk than talking this talk. I give the green light to walking this way, the line. It's a way of life in more ways than one.